The most recent StarCraft 2 map contest just wrapped up a couple of days ago, and it turns out that the winner of the TOMC 17 is a map called Starchild. Now what I've got for you today is a couple of games that are played on this new map. First off, in the top right-hand corner, playing here with the red Terran SCVs, we have ByuN, and I thought it was appropriate, his opponent, playing here with the blue Zerg drones. We're looking at Solar's main hatchery. I just casted a best of 7 between these two a couple of days ago, and if there's one thing we learned is that as long as ByuN is not sending out any SCVs in the earlier stages of the game, I think that gives us about 5 minutes or so to discuss the map and to discuss what this is all about. So yeah, I don't think that ByuN has got anything cheeky in store, so that gives us a little bit of time to look around. Now, I haven't seen any games yet on this map either, so we're gonna experience everything together. Is that the Horde symbol? I think it is. Right next to a mammoth skull, I suppose. Anyways, this particular map, it's made by Marras. Now, if you've watched any of my previous map content that I've made in the past, that may very well be a name that rings a bell, because she has made a lot of maps. So I just looked it up. As of me making this video right now, roughly 25,000 tournament maps have been played on her maps in the past, which is pretty ridiculous. So as far as 1 versus 1 maps that she's made, that eventually made it to the ladder as well as tournaments, she made Deathaura, Disco Bloodbath, Everdream, Lightshade, Moondance, Romanticide, Nightshade, Stargazers, and Winter's Gate. Now there's no guarantee that Starchild will also be making it onto the ladder at some point in the future, but I do think it's a pretty safe bet. Anyways, this particular map, it was categorized under the standard category. So the Team Liquid map contest, you basically have to submit your map into one of the categories. There's a freestyle one as well that usually has some of the spicier maps. So if you are interested in checking out some of those games as well, I'll be casting those very soon. So make sure you subscribe so you get notified as soon as those videos go live. But yeah, this map is the winner of the tournament overall, and it was submitted in the standard category. So this is a description from Marras herself. She says, Starchild is a standard map with 14 bases, 2 of which have double rich gases. There are no Overlord pillars at the natural, and there are also two rather third base options with line of sight blockers and some rocks. Alright, so let's zoom out. By the way, ByuN going for the command center first into no wall at the top of the ramp, just a single marine. This is a build we've seen ByuN playing a bunch against Zerg lately. It's super greedy. But it means that he's going to be moving out at about the 5-minute mark, which still gives us about 2 minutes to look around the map. Alright, so large main base over here. It looks like there's a little jump-up location right over there for Reapers. No pillars over here in the natural for those pervert overlords to be hanging out, but there is one right over here. There's one over here as well, okay. So you should be able to still see most of the units coming across the map relatively easily, but you can't figure out everything without too much trouble. Although, to be fair, I think that this Overlord position here is pretty good as well for Zerg, because they can just fly it straight over there and then figure out exactly what's happening. If Solar wants to go for a scout, he'll probably be sending that out here in just a moment. In the meantime, by the way, he has decided to go for the standard triple hatch opener. This is, yeah, very, very normal play right here from the Zerg. Alright, so from the natural, standard width right over here as far as that choke point goes. You can go over here towards the low ground, towards the sandy area to apparently take a third base there, or, well, take the triangle expansion instead. I gotta say, by the way, I quite like the lines that are around the main bases. It looks kind of sick. There's like an LED strip around the main base, okay? It makes the workers mine faster. I believe that's how that works. Okay. Very cool. Yeah, color scheme on this map, right? So I actually thought when the map was first loading and when I first did my initial impressions of this map a couple of, when was this, like 2 weeks ago? During my YouTube live stream. I thought that the map would be quite dark. So I'm not personally a big fan of dark maps in StarCraft 2 just for legibility. It can be difficult to figure out exactly what you're looking at. But yeah, even though it looks a little bit dark on the preview images, it's very legible in game for sure. Alright, so the center section of the map here, there are indeed some rocks. So you can destroy these to make a wider choke point there. There's a lot of rocks actually set up. Now this is kind of interesting, this dip in. So obviously the map is mirrored. This dip in over here will give you a high ground advantage, but only very slight. It's definitely more interesting than just having a flat terrain there, but ByuN actually already sniping out exactly where those Overlords are most likely to be positioned. But yeah, overall, nothing all too crazy, although I believe it's these bases over here, yeah. So in the bottom right, center, bottom right, center, bottom left-ish, there's a base over here with double high-yield gases. So the double high-yield certainly puts you in a very good position if you can mine that one out, because, well, high-yield gases in StarCraft 2 return double the amount of gas per trip. So golden minerals only return 7 per trip compared to the conventional 5. But high-yield gases, double high-yield gases, there's definitely some potential there. So even though this map is very standard as far as the outline goes and as far as the expansion patterns and all that go, I think that there's definitely some potential for spicy build orders because of the double high-yield gases over there. Yeah, this is kind of a cool section too, so there's a lot of tall grass. Anyway, I like the way that Solar defended here. Only losing a single Zergling to that push. Using the Queen Transfuses right there, saving enough energy. And he's decided to actually take a different approach than what we saw in that best of 7. So he's decided to go for Roaches and Ravagers as a follow-up. He's going for Roach Speed as well as the +1 Carapace upgrade. So the +1 Carapace, yeah, it's going to benefit Roaches, Ravagers, and Zerglings. But this does, of course, mean that there's no Baneling Nest or anything along those lines. So maybe this is Solar adjusting. Or maybe this is something that he actually just likes to play on this map. Obviously, for the players as well, this is going to be one of the very first times that they're playing on this map. But basically what we saw in the best of 7 is that ByuN likes to follow up that Marine shenanigans in the early game when he plays that conservatively with it. That he likes to follow it up with Siege Tanks too. And I've got a feeling that that's why their Ravagers have been made. If Solar can snipe those Siege Tanks, he just needs 3 biles for each of them. If they're clumped up, obviously, you can just, well, pile it in one go. There's a lot of potential there. So ByuN probably anticipating this space to be taken, but not quite the case just yet. This is Solar sitting around on just 3 bases. Well, he's going to take one now eventually, but not acquired just yet. There's the alternative option as well to take it over there, but I've got a feeling that Siege Tanks here on the high ground would be pretty terrifying, so I think most of the time players are probably going to be taking, yeah, this little quadrant of the map. 1-1 is going to finish here momentarily for ByuN. Baneling Nest is coming up, but at a later time than what you normally expect. So I think Solar probably wants to go for a big attack with Roach Ravager and then transition towards Lingbane and then Hive Tech eventually as well. Maybe some Lurker play. Not a bad idea. Yeah, so ByuN experimenting right now with what the best spot is. I like these Siege Tank positions quite a bit, yeah. That high ground is sick. But there's really no reason here for Solar to engage. Like, he really does not need to be here. He realizes that too. Marines, though, in the choke point. Good Siege Tank positions over here. Honestly, this map looks excellent. Not as just the layout goes, but also graphically. I'm fairly sure. I mean, obviously, this is very early to say, but judging by the experience of the map maker, I'm fairly sure you can just take this as a 1-to-1 copy onto the StarCraft 2 ladder, and everything would be fine. Although, of course, there is a chance that there's going to be some horribly broken stuff that players are yet to figure out. That happens from time to time. I remember that one game in the GSL where Parting figured out that with one pylon, you could actually block your opponent inside of their main base. So even though it didn't look like it was possible, this was a map called Oblivion, if I'm not mistaken. He literally built one pylon right over there, and nothing could leave the main base. It was a bit of a disaster. Somehow, some way, he managed to keep that a secret until, well, he was actually playing an important tournament game. Nobody figured it out until, well, he did it in the tournament, which is kind of sneaky. Some people actually got upset at Parting for that, because he was like, well, you know, it's fair, right? Like, I'm not breaking any of the rules. Yeah, it's fair game, but it was a little bit dirty, that's for sure. Anyways, this opener here from ByuN really not working out too much. Not getting nearly as much damage done with this greed as we saw in the best of 7. Yeah, nothing all too great. Drops are dealt with so far just fine. But one of the problems right now here for Solar is that he's got to make that awkward transition. So when you're playing Roach Ravager, it kind of feels natural to go and play, well, Hydras and then eventually maybe into Lurkers, that sort of thing. But Solar instead decides to go from Roach Ravager into Lingbane, which in theory is excellent, but it's kind of difficult to pull off. He's even going for an Ultralisk Cavern right now. So it's Roach Ravager into Lingbane Ultra, which can definitely work out, but there are some vulnerabilities, and one of them, I believe, is right now. Is there enough for the Zerg to really push through this? There's no way you can engage against quadruple siege tank like that. Well, you can try. But yeah, no way that these siege tanks aren't absolutely going to tear everything apart. This high ground over here also makes me a little bit scared for a defensive player, especially when you're dealing with like siege tanks and whatnot. Although obviously by the time that this is really going to come into play, yeah, Vipers are going to be part of the battle too, so maybe it's not that big of an issue, but that high ground seems pretty sick for the Terran player to sit in. Terran in the meantime, by the way, securing their 4th base as well. Okay. Well, those clumped up tanks are excellent at fighting, but not so good when it comes to taking corrosive biles. Well, it depends on whose side you're on anyways. Corrosive biles here, once again trying to allow those Ravagers this time around to retreat. That is a scary Terran army. Supply counts are dead even. So I would love to transition towards Ultralisks, but he can't possibly... Yeah, he can maybe start making them right now, but it's really tricky because they take a long time to build. It looks to me like ByuN wants to fight this pretty soon, although, as we've seen in many games in the past, ByuN definitely likes to sit back for a while as well and just hope for you to run into his siege tanks instead. Well, that may very well be what Solar decides to do right now. He's no longer reinforcing this with any additional roaches. Good biles. Goodbye, biles. Good biles. There's a joke there somewhere. Anyway, doing the live cast, maybe not a great idea. Anyways. Yeah, I wanted to bring up that over the years, we've really we've gotten spoiled a little bit, right? When it comes to the maps in StarCraft 2. Like, maps are super important when it comes to the balance of the game. A lot of people will discuss, you know, the Ghost is too strong, or the Queen is too good, or I don't know, I suck against Disruptors, so Disruptors are clearly overpowered. In reality, though, maps really have a significant influence on the map's balance, and the game's balance, rather, overall. It's not just unit strength. If you can easily expand, it's going to make the maps quite a bit better for one race. It's really difficult to take future expansions, or there's a lot of golden minerals, or a lot of far away expansions is maybe beneficial for the Zerg. And yeah, map balance really is something that's not discussed very often. But on top of that, not only have we had a lot of good maps, we've also had a lot of good looking maps. Like if you compare the maps that we have right now, like the map that we're currently watching a game on, aesthetically this map is beautiful, right? Really good stuff. There's a lot more, almost I want to say like artistry to the map design compared to what we saw in the early days of StarCraft 2. Like in the early days it was a forest themed map, so it was green, right? Or we had a sandy map because it was on the beach. And now we've got all these different complementing colors that really, like, I didn't really expect this to work so well. We have like a purplish blue with like a yellowish sand type. It works well. It looks very nice. We've also seen map makers get a little carried away and eventually just end up with like, you know, a candy cane looking map where it's just too colorful. Anyhow, lovely little move over here, but at the same time, Zerg base killed in the top left, and a lot of drones are gonna have to pay for this as well. Solar trying his very best to be in a good spot here. He grabs one of the ghosts too, but yeah, nicely done. Neither player opting to go for the high yield gases just yet. I feel like if this was a Bly game, he would have expended there first. Bly would probably take this as his first expansion, and then this as his second expansion, and then he's gonna play Mass Muta. Honestly, you can pull off a ridiculous amount of tech transitions though with these high yield gases. Maybe not so much for Terran, but Zerg can suddenly whip out, I don't know, 24 Brute Lords. And you might, yeah, not be expecting that just yet, because usually the pacing just works out a little bit differently. So, high yield gas, maybe a little bit more on the experimental side, but I don't mind it. StarCraft maps, by the way, are very conservative. I know there's a lot of people that would be like, you know, cheering for water slides. Or, I don't know, trampolines for maybe a day-night cycle where during the night lava comes out of the cracks and the low ground is flooded. And you got, like, that's cool, right? In theory, that's pretty cool. But the problem with StarCraft is that, well, the problem. The good thing about StarCraft is that it's incredibly hard. And if you start adding all of those additional things as well, the players will just not play on them. Like, the game is so hard already that it's really hard to convince the pro players and high-level gamers in general to pick maps that are unorthodox. So say, for example, you're doing a best of 3. Both players will get to veto 2 maps each. And if you go... You know, if you have like 3 or 4 super experimental maps in the map pool, those maps will pretty much only ever be the final game of a series. And, you know, unless it's a best of 7, I suppose, and you're forced to play everything. I don't know. Players like... So even though observers and commentators like myself, I would love to cast games with water slides and trampolines and lava. Okay? But realistically speaking, for the players, it's just not as pleasant. Good EMPs right there, getting rid of at least one of those Vipers with its energy, but there's still enough, I believe, for the Terran to push that back, despite that blinding cloud. Good bit of damage being done here, though. Solar, in the meantime, also trying to engage here on the left side of the map. He's going to run into the mineral line there, too. But SCVs get a nice little wrap around. Siege tank, ruining that party. Got 15 confirmed kills. I think 3 of which at least were his friendlies, but anyhow. A cleanup is a cleanup. ByuN opting to take this base. So, taking an expansion past the first 4 bases is definitely harder. Yeah, I think a lot of players will be comfortable to play 4 base on this map, but this one feels really far out. And the same for the base over here at like the 11-ish o'clock position, 12-ish. This is... Yeah, it's far out, for sure. Maybe it's also because of this huge skeleton-looking thing, but this little crevice here makes it quite difficult to engage. And it's a similar one over here. Looks different graphically, but... Alright, so I believe there's a Broodlord transition underway. Corruptors just got scanned. We do already have... well, we have a Spire. No Greater Spire yet. Interesting. So he's gone for +2 flyer attacks here. Before a Greater Spire. Okay. Anyways, ByuN making himself up for an attack once again. This game is excellent, by the way. I haven't been commentating the match itself too much, but this is... You'll probably do the commentary yourself at this point too, right? I can just be the observer of the game. You can just pretend for me to do it. You've probably watched a couple games of Zerg versus Terran at this point. Anyways, bailing, roll by in the bottom right. Okay, yeah, this is hard to defend. Like, sure, the planetary can do a good job, but this is so far away from the rest of these bases, and obviously, if you get a little bit too carried away, it may just become super hard for the Terran to actually take those future bases, and for Protoss alike as well. Zergs are obviously able to connect all of those bases with creep. So I can imagine that initially, with the first 4 bases, it's got to be relatively even. Maybe slightly in the Zerg's disadvantage. Because of all of the divots and stuff right over here. I mean, that's just my initial feeling. I might be completely wrong. But after that... Zerg is not struggling to take that base in the same way that Terran is struggling to take that base, right? Just because, well, the creep connects everything. You get a lot of vision. You can see incoming medevacs and all that much easier. Whereas for the Terran here, you're mostly in the blind. Like, look at this. This area is completely in the dark. And he doesn't really know. Obviously, as soon as Terran commits too many defenses towards the bottom right to try and secure that base, then suddenly your third expansion here is wide open. And that's when the Zerking run-bys are happening. So beautiful move right here by Solar for reading his opponent like a book. Yeah, sensor towers are the obvious answer. So sensor towers definitely will make defending a little bit easier, but I think it's probably going to be more straightforward, at least with the first couple hundred games that players will play on this map, for the Zergs to figure out the expansion patterns and how to take this one. Whereas for Terrans, I think they're probably going to take a little bit more time. They're going to need a little bit more time to figure out how they should be approaching this. Okay. Beautiful engagement here once again, though, for Solar. I mean, this is not a super cost-efficient one, but he's getting rid of a lot of his opponent's heavy hitters. The thing is, his economy has not really been tempered at all. He's at 83 workers right now. I mean, sure, he's lost a whole lot of them. But it's definitely... Oh my god, Solar! No, really? Okay, well, he finally took the base, but he doesn't even bother with the gases. Anyways, GG at this point is called, as ByuN realizes there's no way I'm gonna be able to outgrow Solar at this point, but I would have liked to see Solar taking those gases. Our second game on Starchild is a Terran versus Protoss. We're first off in the top right-hand corner, playing with the blue SCVs and already sending out one of those bad boys. We have none other than Cure. And his opponent in the opposite corner from Denmark with the red Protoss pieces. He goes by the name of MaxPax. Now, normally, Marras names her maps after metal music and metal songs, so I just googled the name Starchild, and turns out there's a lot of options. So first off, there's a Canadian band called Starchild. There is a Tina Marie album from 1984 called Starchild. There's an OC album, likewise also called Starchild, from 2005. There's a Starchild song by Level 42. There's the Mothership Connection Starchild, a 1976 song by the band Parliament, originally released under the name as Starchild. There is Starchild, a Star 1 song from the 2003 album Space Metal. There's Starchild, a Winter Sun song from the 2004 album Winter Sun. There's Starchild, a Freedom Call song from the 2005 album The Circle of Life. And then there's also a song called Starchild from the 2005 album Dynamite. You're probably gonna have to ask her which of these is relevant. Maybe you should just like the names. It's a good name. Starchild is a good name, actually, okay? Never again will I ever want to see and cast a map on a map named Jagannatha. Or Jagannatha, or whatever, right? Like, map names are one of my caster pet peeves. Starchild gets the seal of approval for sure. Starchild is a cool name. Anyways, what isn't so cool here is MaxPax right now checking around in his opponent's main base and not seeing that there's a barracks. Turns out the barracks was built over here on the other side of the map, right underneath the main base. This is the little jump-up spot where a Reaper can get into the main base. So, I think we're gonna see that in just a moment. Although Cure is trying to make a bunker over here too. Just being a little bit obnoxious. Factory has come up. Double gas, of course, here by Cure. So, MaxPax at the very least roughly knows what he's going up against. It means that for the time being, he's gonna have to defend. Reaper in the main base, being obnoxious. Okay, nice little bit of micro here so far, but that Stalker is nowhere to be seen. Takes a while to come out. Tried to save it in the gas geyser. Good little bit of control right here from Cure, although don't lose the Reaper. Poor Reaper guy. Bunker finishes, but yeah. I mean, he could have finished it, rather, but what exactly are you going to do about it? There is a second Reaper available. Honestly, a bunker with one Reaper in it. It's kind of like a sentry, okay? Like, the Stalker doesn't care too much, and if Protoss really is concerned, you could even go for a shield battery, but MaxPax decided to just forgo that. He's scouting around to the main base right now of the opponent. He sees the timing of the CC. So, at this point, MaxPax has got a nice economical advantage. Well, I mean, it's gonna happen, okay? Over the next couple minutes. Those mules are pretty good. What can I tell you? There's another mule. Every time the mule comes in, there's a spike. Stargate opener here from MaxPax. I feel like lately, MaxPax has been enjoying his Twilight Council openers quite a bit, but apparently opting to go for the Stargate this time around. He's always been a Stargate boy, though. But lately, apparently, Twilight Councils are nice. But against an opener like this, I do think that having that detection, having that utility that the Oracle provides, as well as the harassment potential, is just very, very nice. Plus, on this map, I mean, you can blink into the opponent's main base, but kind of a tight spot over there. I mean, you could probably do it over here too, but yeah, you definitely can. Anyway. It's gonna be a Phoenix. Cool. Spotted just now as well by that second Reaper. Good player from Cure. He wants another probe and he gets it. Good start right here though for the Terran player, all things considered, but yeah, nothing too crazy. He's looking around the map right now as well, trying to figure out if there could be a very cheeky fast expansion here in the top left. I quite like the pattern, by the way, on those tiles on the floor. I guess it does look like stars, huh? I mean, I don't know how often you guys go outside, but I've been I've been outside once or twice. Even when it's dark. I know, it was terrifying. But yeah, these things actually appear in the night sky. Crazy. How does it work? It's a statue for Alarak, I think. I'm not exactly sure. It does look like a Tal'Darim Executor High Lord, I guess. There's a lot of bones on this map. Yeah. What is this, though? Is this like some sort of weird Protoss frisbee? I guess it's for the, if you... oh, no, not a frisbee. A boomerang. If you throw it fast enough, it'll return. Anyways, once again, maybe this particular High Lord was a big fan of boomerangs. I get it. Boomerangs are kind of cool, okay? I tried throwing boomerangs as a kid, and, you know, about 1 in 10 throws, it would work out. I thought I was the coolest kid in the class. Nobody has really cared, though, but boomerangs are pretty cool. Yeah. Anyways, Robo Bay coming up right now. So it's going to be Phoenixes into Colossus. This is something that we've seen time and time again here from Mr. MaxPax. It's a good overall build. Map does feel pretty big, by the way. I don't know what the rush distance is. Let me actually see if I can find that. There's a chance that someone already put this on Liquipedia. Although, okay, no. There's no Starchild. No, there's no Starchild entry yet as of me making this video right now. But I can imagine... Oh my god. Sorry. I was alt-tapped out. I can imagine that this is probably something that we will get soon enough. And it will include the rush distance. But if I were to make a guess, it's probably like 35 seconds-ish. Nah, maybe a little less. Anyways. Professional commentator and observer Lowko caught that Widowmine drop on the very first try. You're welcome. Maybe I can spec at some point into Chameleon Ice in IRL. That'd be sick. I can use one to alt-tap out into Wikipedia and the other one to keep an eye out on the game. One-man production team strikes again. Alright, so it was a pretty successful drop, but it's gonna come at the cost of everything. 17 probes though. Definitely not bad. Problem is, usually with this push, by the time that you get across the map, there's one of those laser guys out, right? And MaxPax wasn't forgetting that one. I mean, he can't really forget that one. It's still a little while. Okay, so this is the halfway point of the map. It'll pivots from there. There he is. Legend immediately gets scanned. With a battery, you should be okay. Yeah, you gotta be very cautious though. You don't want to fight this unless the Terran player gets in range of all your structures and all your stuff, but if you can back off, usually it's better. If you fight without the strategic defense, life becomes a little bit tricky, and obviously the Colossus without range and stuff is gonna have to, yeah, move a little bit too far forward. Anyways, extended thermal lens is coming up. That's gonna give additional range to those Colossi in just about 30 seconds or so from now. I wonder which base after the 4th these guys are gonna favor. I mean, you don't really need any more than 4 bases in most games of StarCraft 2, so... I cast a lot of macro games, of course, a lot of longer games of SC2, but generally speaking, a lot of games will end at like 2, 3, 4 base mark. But if they do have to expand towards a 5th, I wonder which one they will take. So this is definitely gonna be the 4th here for Cure. I would say that this is definitely gonna be the 4th for MaxPax, who decided to expand vertically here first. And now Cure is going to go for the triangle base, so that's a little bit different. There will probably be one that's superior, but it's going to take a little bit of time to figure that sort of thing out. Maybe Cure just wanted to be closer to the opponent. There are a couple of rocks that he could destroy to really... Actually, it's just one set of rocks. Yeah, if you destroy these, you can get across pretty quick. Phoenixes, just roaming the map. They can get a free siege tank. Not sure what that guy's doing. Ready to roll out! And then he died. He didn't like it. Okay. Weird sort of revenge. That's a revenge story I've heard of many times before. In books and in stories. Trying his very best, but in the end, turns out anger does not really suit you. Doesn't do you too much good, man. But, okay, well, one of the Phoenixes at least is gonna die. But despite that Widowmine drop, I like this position here from MaxPax quite a bit. He's gonna go for the 4th Nexus, indeed, in the position that makes the most sense. And I guess, if I were to make a guess, I think he's probably gonna take this base over here. Yeah, ByuN could even, or ByuN, Cure could even be taking the base over here. ByuN, Cure, all the Korean Terran players are, no. Although Cure is definitely playing a very ByuN-esque way in this particular match so far. Very micro-focused, a lot of crazy dropping. most ambitious pylon over there that I've seen in a while, but an observer is still going to see that these units are indeed advancing towards the newly acquired base. Okay, Zealots don't have charge yet, but it's just a few seconds away from finishing. Gonna be able to charge at these units as they retreat, if he wants to. Good split right there against the Widow Mine. But now it's done. So there we go. That makes the defense so much easier. Zealot run by in the middle of the main base of the opponent as well, and this is quite annoying to have to deal with. Luckily though for Cure, he did leave a couple units over here in the low, or on the low ground. Okay, one of the Marauders there gets blown up as well. But he did leave a couple of units behind, most likely his reinforcements, to make sure that he could deal with that sort of stuff. Zealot run by, once again, preparing itself to go into the third base. At the same time, Colossus moving forward with the big chunk of the army, and Cure right now, caught with a lot of units on the other side of the map. He's gonna start... Okay, are we having a bit of a base race? No, there's actually a recall right now. He decided to recall on top of this. A little bit dangerous, because you never really know exactly where those Colossi are going to appear around that Nexus. But it turns out with at least some of that army left behind, Cure is still taking a ton of damage. Excellent decision right there from MaxPax, actually. Not only did he just keep the base alive, he also still dealt a lot of damage on the other side of the map. And on top of that, he's actually getting away. Okay, maybe this is going to be the retaliation, because that Protoss army was once again moving out towards the right side. Couple of units, though. Okay, no council on that 4th CC, rather. Anyways, a couple of probes over here have been destroyed as well by that Widow Mine. One Nexus ends up going down, but MaxPax grabs a very nice supply lead. Although most of that is caught up in workers that don't really have another base to mine from. 5 kills right now for that Widow Mine, but that's all it's gonna get. Okay. Yeah, these lasers are getting pretty scary. MaxPax right now with a split up army. Not something that I usually recommend you do, but if you can create a massive sandwich on top of that Protoss, or on top of that Terran army rather, you can come in with the Protoss units from two sides. That would be fantastic. Okay, I think that there was a potential for that. I would have definitely all army hotkeyed and attack moved in the middle of that Terran ball, okay? I wouldn't be able to resist it, but MaxPax, much better at the game than myself, decides to back off there. Yeah, you would have done it too, right? Don't lie to me. You had like, you know, the two slices of bread, and Cure was like the meat and cheese and everything, and then you just... Anyways, I would have tried to squeeze that entire Terran army. One hero probe over here. It's no pylon, but it's doing the job just fine. It sees the incoming drop, although so far the drops have dealt a lot of damage in this game. Careful, charge on cooldown right now. Gotta be careful on these lands. That's why the supply depot is there. Yeah, just to try and slow all of this down. This time around, matter of fact, drop not dealing as much damage because there were a couple stalkers ready, but I believe we should probably keep our eyes over here because Mr. MaxPax... he's posturing like he wants to fight anyways. No prism available, so that makes things a little bit trickier. Probably just got shot out of the sky. Shot? Shot. English. Anyways. Lasers. Nah, lasers are pretty good. Lasers are pretty good. Is there enough right now for Cure to actually break through this? There comes a bowling ball as well, straight through the center. Reinforcing units have arrived. They had to come all the way from the other side of the map, but apparently he does not want to make a new prism for now. Just opting to go for disruptor production instead. That's another command center down the drain. And at this point, we're talking a 4th Nexus done here for Mr. MaxPax. This is just scanned as well by Cure, so he knows what he's playing against. And Cure now, in the meantime, stuck with only 2 bases that have essentially no mineral mining anymore. So, yeah, Cure is going to have to go for one big attack if he wants to win this game, right? But MaxPax is feeling like he can probably close this game out. He's smelling blood in the water. Can he finish it? He needs to be careful. I really like the obnoxious supply depots, by the way. It really just wastes the charge cooldown on those zealots all of the time. Yeah, they're all the same control group, so you can see them derping around a little bit. Here's 3 more Archons showing up, and that is a very good group of units. Cure hoping right now for an overextension, and there definitely is a chance for that, but I think MaxPax at this point, maybe 2 years ago that was an option, but I think at this point he has gotten a little bit too good A lot of damage here being done by the Protoss player as well economically. GG is called. And it's indeed our Protoss player from Denmark who obtains the victory.